Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us for an early start because we've moved things up an hour due to the early post time at GULFSTREAM on a big day in South Florida, but they kick off today 11:30, so we're an hour earlier this morning. Speaking of GULFSTREAM, thanks to them for their sponsorship. GULFSTREAM Park champions start here. Also want to alert you that Fan Appreciation Day at the Hudson Branch. If you are a patron down that way, swing by this afternoon so we get our chance to say thank you to you. It's the Fan Appreciation Day at the Hudson Branch on this Saturday afternoon. Also want to alert you the 1% Aqueduct bonus continues throughout the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. If you wager on Aqueduct through your Capital Bets account, you are eligible for some bonus money. Check out rules and restrictions via capitalotb.com. Also swing by the website to check out our new tournaments, Tourney Bets. We have tournaments scheduled throughout the year, various days of the week, some low-cost tournaments, some free tournaments, and also opportunities to get a seat to the NHC in Vegas next year. The new tournament links on the page, Tourney Bets. Go to capitalotb.com, click there, and see what's available. Check it out. Try some of the tournaments. I think you'll have some fun. That just went up within the last week or so, so make sure you check that out. And swing by the Clubhouse Racebook tomorrow to take advantage of the Win-A-Bet promotion. Watch all the sports action, catch all the racing action. Come on down, have lunch, sit at the bar if you would like to, sit at a carol, a table, but just come on in and enjoy a little camaraderie while you're playing the horses tomorrow, Sunday, and a $100 Win-A-Bet contest. That's right here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, Saturday, March 2nd, next week, daylight savings. A couple weeks after that, a week, 2 weeks after that, officially springtime. We will be down at the end of the month for Florida Derby down at GULFSTREAM the end of March, so looking forward to that as spring is clearly in our sights. And that also means not too far away from the first Saturday in May, then Kentucky Derby. And the action at GULFSTREAM will play into that with the Fountain of Youth this afternoon, but they have a nice supporting card of stakes, really great action, and we're going to talk about it on the show throughout the morning. We'll be joined towards the end of the program live from GULFSTREAM from Ron Nicoletti. Get some of his thoughts on the action this afternoon. Did a couple of taped interviews, one of them with Ken McPeek, one with George Weaver, and talked about their performers in the Fountain of Youth, some of their runners on the undercard, and some other runners coming up as well. Ken McPeek, Signalman, Eskimo Kisses, Harvey Wallbanger, and a horse he said, hey, you're forgetting one of my best horses in the barn. So stay tuned for that. That'll come up shortly. But first up, George Weaver has Vekoma in the Fountain of Youth. He has another runner on the card. He has a runner in New York. And Point of Honor we hit on as well. A nice 3-year-old filly. Got a little update on her from George Weaver as well. So up next, trainer George Weaver. Happy to be joined this morning by George Weaver as Vekoma in the Fountain of Youth. A couple other stakes runners on the Saturday action that we'll hit on as well. George, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Happy to have you on board, and we'll start out with a little Vekoma. And I just want to get to both of the first couple of races of the career. We'll pull up the maiden breaker going back to September at Belmont. Vekoma here will be the number 4 horse. Talk a little bit about the career debut, and I always wonder when trainers wind up with horses with this amount of talent. Do you know that going into the debut? Do you see that in the morning? Get it from the mental aspect of the horse. This was a pretty good debut. What did you think you had beforehand? Talk a little bit about coming out of debut.
No, they was trained very well. Some ratio and good at talent. We're not surprised even first time out. You never know. On a horse, there's a lot of factors going into it. They need to, break well and not be bothered in the face, stuff like that. Don't well. It's the first I've been thrown in the gate with, horses, and it's just a new thing for him. But he was acting like he was going to handle it well, and I knew he had the talent to win. So we were happy that he went over there and did what we thought he was going to do.
And now we'll take a look at the Nashua, and clearly coming out of it, you had to have some confidence to make start number 2 a grade 3 event. The Nashua, we're going to watch the stretch run. Vacoma is going to be the number 5 horse, winning by a chart margin of a length and 3/4. What was your takeaway from the Nashua?
Well, this horse is out of a Spicetown mare. We knew he was fast. I wasn't sure what he would be at distance. He got canter out of top, so but a lot of exposed him in a race. That you really don't do that in any one of the hands. I had the option of going low and running the 100 clear, not this day, probably the only weekend. That was only option, running the Nashua, and so he did. And he trained very well and was trained better out of his maiden win. He was going into it. It was just a logical step. We were glad to handle the extra distance, and it got us excited, and it made us feel like we have one of the top colts of his generation, at least so far.
Yeah, you ran, you won the Nashua running second. Network Effect from Chad and Klarovich. Running third was Call Paul, a nice little stakes runner in his own right. So it was a pretty good little field in there, salty field in the Nashua. What was the decision-making process at that point? You knew you had a nice horse. Did you decide to stop on and wait for the 3-year-old season at that point, or was that kind of the game plan all along?
Well, I think all these horses, you need to take everything day at a time. I think that the horse is a May 22nd baby, and we wanted to give him a chance to fill out. We tried to think about what we want to accomplish with the horse, and it just did not look like it just didn't make sense with him being a May baby that we would just keep on dancing and dancing and dancing. I didn't want to try to press on to the race. We could have taken him to Los Alamitos. We could have run him back into Remsen. And I think I could have made those races, but I felt like with him being a May 22nd baby, that at some time we were going to have to give him a breather, a breather in order to get the rest of 2019 to be successful for us. So with the Triple Crown races in mind and all the other lucrative races throughout the year, it was just the right time to give him a chance to catch up with what he had done and fill out a little bit and grow up. So the decision was made after the Nashua to do that, and so far it's worked out. The horses come back well, and we're happy with them.
Nice string of workouts going back to the middle of January, showing on the page here in the Racing Forum, but notable the Bullet at Palm Beach Downs on February 23rd, 59-4. Talk a little bit about that workout.
Well, I wanted to get a solid one in him. He's not an overly aggressive horse galloping, and we're trying to run a 2-turn mile and a 16th off a 4-month layoff where the horse has only got 2 starts under his belt. So, and it's not an allowance race. It's the Fountain of Youth, and there's some tough horses in there. So we wanted to, I wanted to let him run a little bit the other morning, because he's going to have to run some. He's going to have to run some tomorrow for sure. But we were happy with the work. He did it well. Came back like he wasn't too taxed, and he's trained well since. So, pretty happy with things.
You mentioned the mile Nashua. You were curious about the distance there, the debut effort, 6 furlongs, and then that mile Nashua, which at Aqueduct is a 1-turn mile. So the first time around 2 turns, mile and a 16th on Saturday afternoon in the Fountain of Youth. What are your thoughts on the distance and the 2 turns?
Well, we're going to find out. I don't know for sure. I didn't know for sure about the Nashua. I mean, like I said, the horse has got one thing that he's got in his favor that is a great asset, is he really is capable of turning off. He's not a horse that gets rank or wants to go. He'll sit wherever you want, be as patient as you want, and that's going to serve him well as he tries to to stretch out and see how he does.
Yeah,
I mean, he's an athlete. He might go. He might not have any distance limitations. I don't know, but I know he's out of a Spicetown mare that was a Grade 1 winner at 7/8. And I think at the tail end of her career, she might have stretched out a couple of times and wasn't successful, although it didn't look like she did much running in either one of those starts. You know, she wasn't. I don't even think she was involved early in those races. So, and you know, and she was out of a linkage mare. So there's definitely, you know, she's got Candy right in there. The mare's Broodmare Stars linkage. So I don't know. I think he's got enough pedigree to get it done. It's just a matter of him going over there and doing it. But a 2-turn mile of 16th is, you know, that's a much different race than a 1-turn mile. So, you know, we're looking forward to see what he can do.
As you look at the field and kind of anticipate pace and whatnot, as you say, as you look at the first 2 races from Vekoma, was able to kind of sit off and then run late past the field. It looks like on Saturday, the Fountain of Youth, plenty of speed. Obviously, Hidden Scroll with that monster effort and debut, but Epic Dreamer has some speed. So it looks like the game plan pace-wise will work into your favor. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, Hidden Scroll, I started thinking back. I don't know if I've seen a horse break the maiden as impressive as he did that day. I'm hoping that, you know, if you take it at face value, that he went 22 and change, 44 and change, going a flat mile and just drew off under wraps. You know, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the scenario changes now that he's going to run against horses that might be able to look him in the eye. If they can, I don't know. But you would imagine that he'd be a pace presence. I think Epic Dream would be a pace presence, maybe a horse, you know, a couple other ones. I mean, I want to see if I can get the distance, so I'm not interested in tangling early. Now, if we break sharp and everybody breaks flat-footed and we're there the right way, we're never going to take that away from a horse. But I anticipate stalking the pace and being in a nice, comfortable spot down the backside and giving the horse a chance to get the trip.
Also, you're bringing Manny Franco down. He rode him the first couple of starts up in New York to start the career. I'm assuming you just feel like he fits the horse at this point.
Yeah, he's 2 for 2 on the horse. He knows the horse. I mean, there's really, I think to myself, why would you change? I mean, I know he's not riding regularly at Gulfstream, but I'm not worried about that. But, you know, riders ship across to California, ship across the country to ride races all the time. And I think it boils down more to having the horse. And he knows the horse better than anybody else based on, you know, riding the first 2 times. So, and I've had a long relationship with him. And so we're happy to have Manny come down, and we're glad he's on him.
Very good. Let's go a little earlier in the card. The Canadian Turf. Manny Franco will also be on board. Holiday Stone. And George, while we talk, I'm going to pull up the allowance win from the Saratoga meet. Holiday Stone will be the number 2 horse. Lifetime best buyer number in this race. The race was at a mile. Saturday's race is at a mile. Comes out of a couple of performances so far this year, a 6th and a 10th in the Tropical Turf and the El Prado. This is the 3rd start back. I assume you're hoping to get back to this Saratoga performance. What do you expect from Holiday Stone on Saturday?
Nothing would surprise me with this horse. This horse has had, I don't know if everybody's quite familiar with the way things go, but he won a 2 other than at Saratoga, and that was a good race. And then after that, we're looking for races. You can't find any races. He's not very good with soft turf. So last season was pretty tough with those horses that, you know, didn't like giving the ground. I mean, literally after that win at Saratoga, I mean, there was nowhere to run them. I waited all the way to, you know, I was like, well, we'll wait to Keeneland. Then Keeneland was doggy too. We ended up running him in a 7-furlong race on the dirt just because we had nothing else to do, and he was training well. And he loomed up like he had something, but when you really asked him, he did like most turf horses do, and he just kind of flattened out there. Then he went to Del Mar, ran in the mile and 16th race out there, and he was just a little bit keen early in the race. And I think a mile and 16th that's a 16th too far for him. And we ran him, you know, his 2 races here. The first race I thought he was maybe a little too close to the pace, ran a little flat, and then this, you know, the one that his most recent race, I mean, the horse looked like the jock had to eat him. I mean, I thought he was in a beautiful spot. Never got a chance to run. I mean, there was walls of horses in him, and you know, I'm not blaming the jock, but he just never was. You know, he never made a move or got a chance to make a move to give a horse a chance to run. I mean, it looked like he was just holding him the whole way.
Yeah, and that's a side of the game that I think a lot of horse players aren't familiar with. When you own and train, a lot of times you're looking for spots, and as you say, that dirt race, it's just you had a horse that was ready to run and there was no spots. But then you toss in, you're exactly right, here on the East Coast last fall, if you had a turf runner that didn't like soft turf, you were really up against it.
Yeah, and this horse has been a nifty horse for us. I mean, he got a he got stuffed in the 10 mile when he was a 3-year-old. Should have been no worse than second in that race. Ended up finishing 5th. Paco's horse backed up into him, and Louis had to yank him up. And so it's quite possible that he could do well in this race. Heck, the horse to beat is the horse that was third behind him in Saratoga. The horse of Shugs, I think, is what it looks like to me on paper. So, and he'll be a long shot too. I mean, I can't guarantee that he's going to do well, but I think he's probably an overleg based on what I'm seeing.
All right, that's Holiday Stone on the Canadian turf. Let's just quickly go up to New York. The Bernardini, Leitoni, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I watched a couple of replays this morning. Comes out of a 6th place finish in the John Campbell down at Laurel. But I'm a buyer guy, and on the buyer, I think Leitoni at Aqueduct on Saturday and the Bernardini fits nicely with this group. What are your thoughts?
Well, normally I don't run horses back that quick. It's just that this horse had trained so well. And I actually was looking for a kind of a layup spot at Tampa on Sam Davis Day, and they didn't use the race. So the John Campbell came up, and I was like, well, let me ship him up there and run in there. And I mean, I think the horse, I think the horse can run all day. Like the further the race, the better. I think he could just keep going and going and going. And when we ran him in the John Campbell, I told the kid I like to be up close to the pace. Give him a free rein and let him be up there. And they went 46 and change. He might have softened them up a little bit. But when I saw this race at 1 mile and 5/16, I was like, well, it's right up his alley. I'm going to give him a shot. The horse trains. He's had some very, very good breezes here at Palm Beach Downs before we sent him up there. And if he wins, it's not going to be a surprise to me at all.
And again, that's in the Bernardini Leitoni. And just before we let you go, George, want an update on a potential Kentucky Oaks runner. This is a fun story, just reading about Point of Honor. And while we talk, we're going to go back and look at the Suncoast at Tampa Bay, February 9th. Point of Honor will be the number 7 horse. Wins by a chart margin of 2 3/4. Second start of the career debut was a nice win over at Gulfstream and a maiden special the beginning of December, middle of December, I guess. But that debut effort was an off-the-turf event, and so you realized you had a nice dirt runner. You go over and get this race and the win we're looking at in the stake at Tampa, and now maybe on to the Kentucky Oaks. Talk a little bit about Point of Honor and how the change-up at the start of the career maybe changed the course of the career.
Well, this filly, she's always, last year as a 2-year-old, she trained okay. Like, she always kind of asked what you asked her to do, but she never really did break the stopwatch. She was never one of those ones that worked in 47 and change. She was very workmanlike about what she did. So we had some mixed, and I had a chance to work on the grass up there, and she had, not every work we worked on the grass was good, but a couple of them were, and we had the same thing that we were talking about earlier on the soft turf up there, that Oklahoma turf training track. For a good portion was always had some give in it, and some horses just didn't handle it. They didn't like it. So I've had to forgive some of their workouts up there. But she was ready to run at Aqueduct. I put her in a 6 furlong maiden race on the dirt early in November. She tied up the day before the race, and I ended up scratching. I wasn't comfortable with running her off the tie-up, and I made the decision to bring her down to Florida and see if she'd do a little better down here. And ever since she came down here, she's done really well. And really, the only reason I ran her on the turf first time, or wanted to run on the turf first time out, is I wanted a 2-turn race.
Okay.
I don't think the filly's suited to 1-turn racing. She's not really, she just kind of doesn't have that sprint speed. So in a 1-turn race, sometimes you can get caught chasing. So even though in my mind I had mixed signals about whether or not she was better on the dirt or turf, she was kind of equivalent on both sides. But I wanted a 2-turn race, so I said, well, let's just get her started in this mile and the 16th race on the grass, and that way she won't have to be hustling early to keep up, and she can find herself on the bridle and give her a chance to, show her best. And when they took it off the turf, it did disappoint me. I knew she could handle it, and usually those fields are watered down to, horses that really aren't great on the dirt anyway. And with me knowing that she could handle it, it really wasn't that much of a surprise that she won. And but she did it stylishly, and so I after seeing her run, I definitely wasn't going to put her back on the turf after that. It was time to do the dirt again. So the Suncoast was a nice next step for her, and she jumped up and ran a big race again. So it is looking like at this point we're holding a lot stronger hand than what she tipped us off before she made her debut. That's for sure.
2 for 2 with that Suncoast Stakes win on February 9th. You have anything in mind? Any plans for the next start for Point of Honor?
I'm going to nominate her to the Fairgrounds Oaks and the Gulfstream Park Oaks. And I'm leaning towards the Gulfstream Park Oaks. I just think shipping her to Fairgrounds and back would be a little bit, might knock her down more than I wanted to. So right now we're leaning towards the Gulfstream Park Oaks, but we're going to look at both races and make a decision as we get closer.
Very good. George, wish you a lot of luck Saturday afternoon in Vacoma and Holiday Stone, Laytone, and going forward with Point of Honor. Appreciate the visit this morning.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
George Weaver, again, Vacoma and other stakes runners on Saturday afternoon. As they say, Point of Honor, a nice little 3-year-old filly, perhaps on the trail to the Kentucky Oaks. Welcome back, and again, thanks to George Weaver for taking the time yesterday to talk a little bit about some of his runners. I know our friend Mike Callahan, our colleague, is high on Vacoma this afternoon in the Fountain of Youth. We'll see how that works out. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Ken McPeek, he has Signal Man in the Fountain of Youth. We'll talk about that one and some others right after this. Stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of ranch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on Racing Across America. This earlier edition, again, there's an early post time at Gulfstream today of 11:30, so we've moved up an hour, and hopefully everybody jumped on board because a good interview with George Weaver in the last segment, and now we'll have Ken McPeek. Again, we taped him yesterday, talked a little bit about Signal Man and the Fountain of Youth. We had on Eskimo Kisses and Harvey Wallbanger. And then Ken said, you're leaving out one of my best horses, so stay tuned for that as well and see who Ken is looking forward to in 2019. Ken McPeek up next. Happy to be joined now by Ken McPeek. He has Signal Man in the Fountain of Youth, some other stakes runners that we'll hit on as well. Ken, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start out with Signal Man. While we talk, we're going to take a look at the Kentucky Jockey Club that wound up his 3-year-old season. Signal Man will be the number 1 horse here. Nice gutsy net victory versus a field of 14. A nice 2-year-old season. Debuted at Churchill in May with his second, then came up and won the Maiden Breaker at Saratoga in front of our crowd up here. Subsequently, a good second versus a field of 13 in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. Third behind Game Winner in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and the victory we're watching here in a field of 14 in the Kentucky Jockey Club. So kind of ticked all the boxes. Faced big fields and ran well. Grade 1 place, Grade 2 stakes winner, 2 turns, ran well at Churchill Downs. So nice 5-race career as a 2-year-old. What was your takeaway from that 2-year-old season for Signal Man?
Well, I think he's overcome a lot already. I mean, he had a horrendous post position in Breeders' Cup Day, or I think we run even better than we did, finishing third. But this horse is a warrior. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't continue that on this weekend. And I'm real proud of what he's done as a 2-year-old. But I expect him to be a better 3-year-old.
And I'm looking at the workouts underneath Gulfstream going back to February 2nd, a nice 46 and change, February 16th, a minute flat. How's he working, in your opinion, for this 3-year-old debut?
Well, that 46 and change was a workout that was unnecessary. I wasn't real thrilled with the riders that day. He didn't need to go that fast. He did it easy enough. But we backed down the next breeze, and then he's had, another maintenance breeze inside or since then. And it's a regular routine for him. It's not a complicated system or program. And hopefully this first race, he jumps back into his regular race routine, and he's got 2 races to punch. He needs to punch a few more points to get him in the Derby, but our goal is just to get to Kentucky in one piece and give him a fair chance to win the big one.
Salty Field coming up on Saturday. What are your thoughts for the chances of Signalman in the Fountain of Youth?
I think it's a big chance. I mean, the race in Kentucky was not – the Kentucky Jockey Club, I looked at that field, and it was a tough group.
Yeah.
I think people get hyped up on a horse that's won impressively one time. I mean, that's great and everything, but they've got to get in a dogfight when they run in these kind of races. And mine's been in dogfights, but more than anything, you got to line them up and you got to test them. And we're ready to go. And I don't know if there's a superstar out there that we got to beat, or maybe I'm bringing the superstar over. Who knows?
and certainly this is a horse who sits off the pace and makes that late run. I think you have to look at this field. Gulfstream favors speed maybe, but I think there is plenty of speed in here with, you were alluding to Hidden Scroll. Epic Dreamer has some speed. What are your thoughts on the pace scenario Saturday?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to Brian. We shoot him away from him in the club. I'm wanting to look closer to the tactical speed he had, and if he could sustain it after being asked early, and obviously he did that. One of the concerns I have about this race is that this isn't our ultimate goal. We're really looking at it as I didn't want to beat him up for this race, and I'm not going to force anything to try to win it. It's not what matters is we get some points, we run well, and we go to the next one and we're in an even better position. But pace and error will be left up to Brian. Should he maybe try to position himself inside? He's inside of Hidden Scroll. I'll leave it up to Brian. I'm not going to micromanage him too much. I trust his judgment a lot.
Post position, you have to be happy, though. You're in the middle of the field. You don't want to be too far outside, obviously, in this kind of a scenario. So you have to be happy with the 6 post position.
Yeah, no, it's right middle of the road, no problem.
And I know it's kind of a play-it-by-ear situation, but it's a little bit different when you're aiming for that first Saturday in May. You may have to firm up things a little more. Do you have a schedule planned out?
He's probably 75-80% sure to go to the Bluegrass.
Okay.
We've been planning on the Bluegrass the whole time. I've won that race a couple of times and would be excited to win it again. It's home for me. It's home for most of the partners as well. But that's pretty much the next step. And unless something changes and he needs a little more time, there's a possibility he could go to Arkansas, but I doubt it.
Ran well in the Breeders' Futurity, too, so has experience over the track.
Yeah, I mean, he was based at Keeneland as a 2-year-old. Even a year ago, he was galloping at Keeneland. He started his spring at Keeneland. He's been based at Churchill. I mean, they're coming to our neighborhood. Okay, that's us.
I said he ticked all the boxes, and he's got 3 nice races over the Churchill Strip, so that has to make you feel. And the Jockey Club was on a sloppy track, too, so you know all the options are open. That has to feel good.
Well, I mean, this thing, you've just got to position yourself, and then you hope a higher power punches your ticket, and it's your turn. I mean, I was second in the Derby in '95, and nobody had ever even heard of Bob Baffert back then. And then since then, Bob's won off 4, 5, 6. How many has he won? And you just got to hope that you get those kind of horses, and they have the right trip, and everything goes your way. I mean, is it a magical year? Our fingers are crossed, but we're also humble enough to know that it couldn't be.
Certainly the 2-year-old season showed a lot of promise, so looking forward and wish you good luck on Saturday in the Fountain of Youth. You have a couple other on the card as well. Let's go to the Here Comes the Bride, the 8th race on the card, Princessa Carolina. We're going to go back again to a Saratoga Maiden Breaker. Solid effort from that one, be the number 4 horse here on that replay. and subsequently ran 5th in the Jessamine, came out of this maiden breaker and went into a grade 2, and then tried the dirt in the Rags to Riches at Churchill in October. In here comes for the Saturday afternoon from Seth Merrow.
Third or better in this race, then we'll likely drop back to A other than and go from there. And by the way, it's Jasmine.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's Versailles, not Versailles.
There you go. That one I knew.
Yeah, we got to get a little hillbilly out of it.
Let's take a look at the McDiarmida, which is Vittori Kin. Am I pronouncing that one correctly? That one I would completely guess on.
Yeah, you've got it right. He's a Brazilian champion. He's a Brazilian Derby winner, and he had a little physical issue coming out of the United Nations, the Woodbine race last year, and he needed some R&R to resolve that, and he got it. But this is a really good horse, and he shouldn't be overlooked. But he's also coming off a layoff. But I think we've got him fit enough to win first time.
We're going to look at the Louisville, which was last May 19th down at Churchill Downs. Vittori Kin, the number 3 horse in here, gets it done. Nice win. As you say, subsequently 4th in the United Nations, and then came out of that Nijinsky in July up at Woodbine and had been on the break. So it is an extended layoff here, coming back at 1 3/8 on Saturday. So, again, give us your thoughts with the break and coming back now and how this horse will be geared up for Saturday afternoon's performance.
Well, I think he'll run good in this spot. 1 3/8 is an ideal distance, and I can come back at Keeneland and I believe it's the Elkhorn in the spring also, which is another one. And he won the Louisville Handicap last year, so that's kind of the 3-race plan with him.
All right, and Ken, before I let you go, I want to hit on a couple of other horses and just get some updates. Obviously, Harvey Wallbanger, we're going to take a look at the Holy Bull. February 2nd, Harvey Wallbanger is going to be the number 5 horse in here. Wins paying $61.20, so surprised the bettors. But did Harvey Wallbanger surprise you in the Holy Bull?
You know, he was really training good into this race, and I started to go to Tampa with him, and then I called Harold Lerner.
Most work out.
It was okay. I wasn't overly thrilled with it. He worked with Signalman, and Signalman seemed to get the better of him on the gallop out. And I think it's just the timing-wise. And I'm working to keep those two separated as well. But
sure.
He needs to work better than he worked last weekend, but I suspect he's going to get stronger. And he really needs to fire off a really big shot when we run him end of the month.
And I want to hit on one more. A horse that's actually entered on Saturday but unlikely to run. And folks up in our neighborhood will remember Eskimo Kisses as winning the Alabama last summer. And we're going to take a look at that win. Eskimo Kisses is going to be the number 2 horse. Running 3rd was Midnight Bishu as the favorite. Nice $20 win for Eskimo Kisses. Again, she's entered main track only on Saturday in the very one, and with a nice forecast coming up for South Florida, unlikely that things will go over to the main track. So just update us on how Eskimo Kisses has transitioned to the 4-year-old season, and given the situation tomorrow being that she's unlikely to run, what do you think is up next for Eskimo Kisses?
Well, back in the fall, she got a little bit jammed up after the Spinster. I wasn't happy with her Spinster race. She likes the deeper surfaces, particularly. She loves to train over the Oklahoma track there in Saratoga. I think she wants the heavier tracks like a Belmont or a Saratoga. Churchill's good to her. She also likes Oaklawn, so she's probably going to go to Oaklawn, assuming they don't come off tomorrow, and it doesn't look like there's a weather forecast that it's going to happen. But if she goes to Oaklawn, she'll run in the Azeri and possibly the Apple Blossom.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are 2 good races. I'm really needing 1 1/8, 1 1/4 with her, but those races aren't readily available. There's not actually the stakes program at Gulfstream is shockingly there are no filly and mare 1 16th, 1 1/8 dirt races, which is disappointing. But she's good. She's good filly, and she's doing really well right now. She loves Payson Park, and we're real happy with her progress, and hopefully she's as good a 4-year-old as she was 3. You know, a horse you're not even talking about that might be my best horse in the barn is the Grade 1 winner, Restless Rider.
Well, go for it.
I mean, I don't know why everybody forgets about this filly, because she's run 6 times and she's been nothing but first and second. Won the Alcibiades. She was second in the Breeders' Cup, second in the Spinaway. I mean, she's a beast. But
what's up next for her?
Well, she's going to go straight to the Ashland. She's a really, she might be my best 3-year-old. I wouldn't be scared to work her with Signalman or Harvey or anybody. I mean, I think this is a filly that you're going to see back up in New York for the Alabama, and I think it's going to be a great year for her. I mean, she's a really special filly, and like I said, I think for some reason she gets left off. I mean, she got left off the Eclipse Award ballot.
I voted for her. I was a Restless Rider fan last year. I'm glad you brought her up.
It was ridiculous. She beat Bellafina by 8 or 9 lengths in their only run together. I mean, and Bellafina ended up on the ballot. We didn't even get on the ballot. I don't know exactly how they do that math, but anyway, I guess we're just going to have to prove ourselves as a 3-year-old, and hopefully she's the Monomoy girl of 2019.
That'd be nice. Before I let you go, I just want to touch on, because Eskimo Kisses and Harvey Waldbang are owned by Harold Lerner, and I just have to, always curious the relationship between trainers and owners. He's got to be fun to work for, though. We had him on live on the backstretch one morning up at Saratoga. I think it was after the Alabama, in fact. But if folks don't know Harold Lerner's story, he and his wife won the lottery, won like $250 million. He was a longtime horse player, now becomes a horse owner. But you'll wind up winning the Grade 1 Alabama and a nice little 3-year-old like Harvey Waldbanger. As I say, he's got to be living the dream. It's just got to be fun to work for a guy like that.
No, he's a real special guy. You know, the key to Harold is that he takes the bad news well. You know, we've got plenty. We've had bad horses together, but he also knows we can't dwell on those. And when I tell him that this is a bad horse, we just need to put this horse in and move on, let it get claimed, whatever. He lets me do that. But then it lets us gravitate and put all our energy into the better ones we've got. And we've had, you know, I bought him Pat on the back. I trained Pat on the back the majority of his career until recently, and that was because I don't stable in New York right now.
Yeah, a nice little New York bred, right?
Yeah, really good horse.
Yeah.
He's pushing $1 million,
Yeah.
of course. I bought him at auction. We had the Truth or Else, a really good colt. You know, we've had some other ones that were, you know, just manes and tails, but he's a great guy, and nobody loves the game as much or more. And him and his wife Helen, she's the peach of the group there. You know, she's actually the best. But he got lucky when he got her. But they're a lot of fun, and they bring other good people in too, so it's nice.
Yeah, as I say, it's fun to root for a guy like that because it gives hope to all of us horse players that maybe something will turn in the way like that. But fun to root for. As I say, Eskimo Kisses and Harvey Waldbang are on the top of his list at this point.
When you hit your lottery ticket, can I buy your horses?
Absolutely. I can only hope to pick up a lottery win like that because I'd love to be on his side of the game as well. Ken, we appreciate the visit. Wish you a lot of good luck on Saturday, Signalman and the other runners, and going forward, Restless Rider and Harvey Waldbanger, Eskimo Kisses, as we talked about. So appreciate the visit this morning, and good luck.
One other one. We got 4 running in stakes at Turfway next weekend, too, and I got one in the UAE Derby coming up.
Oh, okay. Who's in the UAE Derby?
Greco.
Okay.
He's an Argentinian bred. He's headed there, and I've got one for the Spiral at Turfway. That's Curlin Gray, and then I've got one for the Bourbonette, one for the Latonia, and another one for the Rushaway. So we've got a nice lineup of stake horses, and whether we hit anything, ask me in April or May.
I'm curious, UAE Derby, how early do you ship for that? Do you kind of want to be on top of the race, or do you want the horse over there to acclimate?
I bought that horse with the sole intention of pointing him towards the UAE Derby.
Oh, interesting.
He was imported over 6 months ago, and he's got a prep race on Saturday in Dubai. He already ran once. He ran 4th first time out, and then UAE Derby's $2.5 million.
Yeah.
and that runs on the 30th of March. But hopefully I'm at the Florida Derby with Harvey Wallbank.
All right, very good. Ken, again, appreciate the visit, and we wish you a lot of good luck.
All right. Take care.
Ken McPeek, again, Signalman and other runners coming up on Saturday, and a little preview of some of the other nice runners he has in the barn as well. Jessamine, now I know, it's not Jessamine, my hillbilly, which is, I appreciate. I knew Versailles I knew, but I appreciate Jessamine is a county in Kentucky, and Ken being a Kentucky guy, it's like when people from out of town say Albany. It's Albany. So I appreciate the correction. And yeah, I did have Restless Rider. I appreciate that he brought that one up because I put her on my ballot for 2-year-old filly last year. I put Newspaper Record on top over Jaywalk, but I had Restless Rider on the ballot underneath. But I'm glad he brought her up also just because, and I wrote down the exact quote, she might be my best 3-year-old, says Ken McPeek about Restless Rider. So it'll be interesting to watch her in the 2019 season. All right, we'll take a break. We will be joined in a couple of minutes live by Ron Nicoletti. We'll get some of his thoughts on the stakes action this afternoon at Gulfstream Park. Please stay tuned.
The road to the Kentucky Derby ends with the most exciting 2 minutes in racing, but getting there begins long before then. With 34 prep races that span 15 tracks, the best place to watch, wager, and win is Capital OTB and OTB TV. Upcoming Derby prep races include the Gotham from Aqueduct, the Tampa Bay Derby, and the San Felipe from Santa Anita. So for in-depth coverage and expert analysis of all the Derby prep races, stay with Capital OTB and OTB TV.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system. Never get shut out again.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Thanks again a little earlier to George Weaver and Ken McPeek. And I should say that a couple of spots in those interviews where there were some technical difficulties, but you got all the important info from both of those trainers with some nice stakes runners on the card today. On a big card at Gulfstream Park and on a big stakes card, nobody better to talk to about some of those stakes than Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. Happy to have you on board. Before we go any further, why don't you give us a little update? What's the weather look like?
It's fantastic down
nice.
here. The main track is fast turf firm. It's just one of those spectacular days in South Florida. Really lucked out this week. So great day. Nine graded stakes, 6 of them on the grass. I mean, get big guarantees in the Rainbow Six, Elite Pick 5 and Late Pick 4. So it should be a wild, fun day of racing here.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the Rainbow Six, and we talk about it on our handicapping show every Saturday morning. My colleague Brian Nadeau takes a look at Gulfstream Park, and on our Handicappers Report printout sheet, he usually does a Rainbow Six ticket. And we talked about, you have the mandatory pay down there, and then bingo bango, it's back up to a big amount. It seems like about a week later, it becomes a nice juicy amount again. People really love the bet.
Yeah, it really turned around. I was talking to Sue the other day. It used to start up after it hit 30,000 in the pool the first day, so on and so on, and now it just goes up I mean, it's going into today, it's like 5 cents.
Yeah.
It could be well over $1 million today, without a doubt. So.
And at the 20-cent increment, I continue to say it, you can put together a whale-sized ticket for a reasonable $40, $50, $60 and have some fun. And even if you hit the console, you might wind up with $500, $600, $800, $1,200. And so I always tell people, jump in. And a day like this, you may be able to spread. We talked about in the handicapping show earlier, because you have to believe Jaywalk is a single.
Yeah, he's the single leader. So basically, it's a pick 5.
Yeah.
And if Jaywalk, you would think just come back and be incredible in there. So you'll see how he runs. I mean, that's going to be everybody's single. Now, with that said, if you beat him, you're going to get a nice payoff no matter what happens. So,
yeah, that's.
I take a B ticket with him, not with that horse not on the ticket, but that'd be crazy to leave her off my main ticket.
And before we go any further, I have to ask you, because I'm always sitting in here in the afternoon doing the handicapping show OTB Live, and Gulfstream is always one of the tracks, so I'm watching the simulcast signal. How'd you do yesterday and beat the handicapper?
I got whooped yesterday. I won last time I was on, but I got whooped yesterday. I had a couple of guys with 5 or so. I had 3 winners or something like that. I got so mad I could keep count after half the day.
That's a fun promotion. And for folks who aren't familiar, if you watch the simulcast signal, you will see that the handicappers down there, you guys all alternate, and the public gets to take a little shot against the handicappers, and folks can win a nice Gulfstream polo. But I think it's kind of a fun promotion.
Yeah, and they let you have it when they beat you. So you got to take the good with the bad.
They wear that polo with pride. There you go. All right, let's jump in and get some thoughts for Saturday afternoon. Let's start with the big race. Fountain of Youth, and again, earlier we talked to George Weaver, so we saw some replays for Vekoma. Talked to Kenny McPeek, so we saw the replay of the Kentucky Jockey Club for Signal Man. But I can't go past this race without reminding people of that just eye-popping maiden special weight event on January 26th. Hidden Scroll, the number 1 horse, just an incredible performance with a 104 buyer figure. Bill Mott, not necessarily known to have them all cranked up first time out, but this was just a phenomenal performance. Again, Hidden Scroll will be the number 1 horse here. And the question mark is, was this a fluke? Can he repeat that on Saturday afternoon? I have him in the second spot. I put Vekoma on top, but boy, if Hidden Scroll does repeat what we're watching here in the replay, clearly the horse to beat. What are your thoughts on the Fountain of Youth?
Well, I'm going to paraphrase what Bill Mott told me. Just basically, he said, he knew that, the horse should have won. Maybe the track made the distance, the amount of lengths that he won. Maybe that helped a little bit. But they were so on the high on this horse beforehand, and he's been just working up the storm. And I am totally in the Hidden Scroll camp now. A lot of guys going with the Bourbon War in there, looking for a shot and everything. I'm going to stick with Hidden Scroll. I mean, I'm going to use him, and other horses in the South. The big sneaky horse today is Bourbon War, but I'm totally in Hidden Scroll's camp.
Yeah, it's just going to be fun to see what this horse can do after just, again, an eye-popping career debut in a fashion you just don't normally see. What are your thoughts on Vekoma, the horse I have on top?
He's a lot of people like him today. I mean, he's done absolutely nothing wrong. He's been just incredibly, as fast now. You're up there in the New York area. You got the Speedies, race talking about being on the air when these races run, but he's just been incredibly impressive, winning the National, and you got the Matt Frankel, like, an up-and-coming rider. So, he's got speed. I don't know what plan. And Phil Mott, just to not hop on the course that's going to be the odds-on choice, Hidden Scroll. Phil Mott doesn't do this.
Yeah.
He doesn't go from a maiden win in the slop into the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth. Just does not happen.
And I'm looking at your sheet, and I should remind people, if they go to the Gulfstream site, you can find a nice printable sheet from Ron every day with selections and comments. And I see you have Global Campaign underneath. So you potentially have a nice little value with the Exacta Global Campaign, the Stanley Huff horse. Nice to see him back training for Sagamore. But 2 for 2 down at Gulfstream. So again, a 10-1 on the morning line maybe adds a little value to the Exacta.
Yeah, definitely. He's trying to keep his record here on Blemish. He followed his maiden victory, came right back, and just Stan Huff's horse has been running great. He getting Luis Saez and going for 3 in a row. He knows how to handle his horse. And you know what? I've been hanging out a little bit with Kenny McPeek with Signal Man. I did a story on him last week and everything. That horse, big horse, think maybe he can grab a share. A lot of people are out of his corner, so we'll see. So I went 7, 8, 6, and that's, I'll fool around with it, but his both doors commit to me.
All right, let's move on to the finale on Saturday, the Mac Diarmida or Mac Diarmida. I've heard it pronounced both ways. $200,000 Grade 2 event, 1 mile and 3/8 on the grass. And I wanted you to talk about this race because your long shot of the day is on there. And I will say again, we have the simulcast signal on in the afternoon. I love when your long shot comes up. I love the video that leads into that. I laugh every time I see it. And I will alert people, you do okay with the long shot, so keep your eyes on Ron's long shot every day. But today, Hunter O'Reilly, and I pulled up, I went back a little ways. I went back to the Bowling Green, which you referenced on the sheet. Bowling Green from 2017 up here in Saratoga. It will be number 5, Hunter O'Reilly, getting it done at the 1 mile and 3/8 distance. So won at this trip up here at Saratoga, again, a couple of seasons ago. Lightly raced really since then. Couple of starts, one start in 2018, that was in April, and now comes off a 4th place finish in the seasonal debut this year in the McKnight. So now finally gets to string a couple together. Give us your thoughts on 10-1 on the morning line, Hunter O'Reilly and the Mac Diarmida.
Well, if you go back and look at the McKnight, he was really, the horse got, he took the overland route. He had a closed wide. Tyler Gaffney, an excellent rider. And I just thought, there's no one that jumps up the page like, they're going there with J-Wall. Channel Maker's a logical horse, Zulu Alpha, Village King, who I put on my ticket. None of them scare me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm looking for a little bit of a price, a horse that's won at distance, which is always one of my key little angles. So I think I'll take a shot. I was surprised. I thought he'd be higher on the morning line than 10-1. I don't know what the morning line is when I do this stuff. Sometimes, talking about my long shots, I pick a long shot and opens up 6-5. So, I'm sort of guessing about that. But I think that horse will run well in there.
I'll take the $20 to $22, though. That counts.
Oh, sure.
Tyler Gaffleone rides, and I will note I'm a big Jimmy Toner fan, so that aspect I like as well.
Right, yeah. I mean, Jimmy Toner's the best. So it just, I had so much luck with him talking about long shots and stuff with Jimmy Toner. So I just think that's the one, that maybe you get a little bit of a price with, especially if guys get a single J walk in, Stroll or Bacoma like you, or whoever might single in there. Got to go deep in that Mac Diarmida, I think it is. I wanted to do a show and just ask people all around the track how to say the name of that race.
Very good, because as I say, I've heard it pronounced a couple of ways. Ken McPeek just corrected me, though. I was saying Jessamine for the stakes race up at Keeneland. It's Jessamine, Jessamine, according to, and he lives there, so it's a county up there. So I'm going with him. I said I appreciated the correction there to get the correct pronunciation there. But as I say, some of these races, I'll check a lot of times and hear what a track announcer has to say, because I kind of trust them. But then you go from one track announcer to another, and they've got different pronunciations a lot of times as well. So you're rolling the dice sometimes. This one,
that's, I'm infamous for screwing up names. So.
you and me both, baby. But this one I know we have correct. The 11th race, it's the Honey Fox. And want some thoughts there. Grade 3 event, a mile on the grass. What do you see in the Honey Fox?
Well, I really like Bellavait is turning back to the mile distance, which that race is 8 races at the distance with those 4 wins. Sharp victory in the Marsh Riz River. Drew Quish won it by 3.5 lengths. Todd Fletcher, Joel Rosario atop this daughter of Papik. I just think she's the one to beat. But the horse I'm interested in, talking about screwing up names, the one horse, I think it's Precise or Precis, whatever it might be, is the one horse. She makes her first start for impressive, after for impressive North American debut for Chad Brown. She was only beaten ahead. I think that Bellavait is going to be a little bit of a price in it because they're all going to bet the one in Valedictorian, and I think maybe Bellavait gives it a little bit of a price.
Horizontals, though, I have them 1, 2, 2. I put the Chad horse on top, but I like Bellavait. I think horizontals, you have to use both of them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah. So just a great day of racing. When we get underway at 11:30, it's like I can't believe it's just a little while ago, and we'll be ready to go. So it should be like I said, a great day racing, and we got the good weather, which is the big part of it.
I said during the handicapping show today at GULFSTREAM, you can do breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll be doing all 3 of those, and maybe even a nightcap.
And I didn't realize it till I got down to the Pegasus. Your hangout has now moved, Christina Lee's.
Yes, but they actually made a section that has my name on it. So
I said it's your favorite. I would, after the races, I would stop up and catch the Gulfstream crew, and you would always be up there. But yeah, Pegasus Day, somebody said, oh, it's now out behind the paddock, out in that area.
Yeah, it's a really nice little place now. It's really cozy and stuff. And after the races, everybody still goes there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, very good. So people should be aware if they're heading down for a little break of this wintertime weather. Ron, appreciate the visit. And will you be putting the Pick 6 ticket together for the simulcast today?
Yeah, I'll put one together. I didn't put it out yet. It'd be about $48.60 because I'm singling jaywalk. I gotta go there. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right, looking forward to that. Ron, wish you and everybody down there a lot of good luck. Appreciate the visit.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park on a really, really nice day. And happy to give you some ideas and talk a little bit with some of the trainers involved with some contenders. Vekoma for George Weaver, Signalman for Ken McPeek in the Fountain of Youth. And with both of those trainers, hit on some of their other horses today and in the future as well. And some thoughts from our friend Ron Nicoletti also. So we appreciate all the visits this morning on Racing Across America. Let me hit you once again with the promos coming up today. The one we want to alert you to is, of course, Fan Appreciation Day at the Hudson Branch. If you are a patron there, we would love to see you swing by on this Saturday afternoon so we have our chance to say thank you to you. Fan Appreciation Day this Saturday afternoon at the Hudson Branch. Don't forget, 1% Aqueduct bonus continues throughout the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Receive 1% extra on your Aqueduct wagers through Capital OTB Bets. Check out rules and restrictions via the website capitalotb.com. Also, swing by the website and click on the Tourney Bets link if you haven't already, because we've now added a fun tournament section. We paired up with teamed up. Not paired because that would imply two, but it is much more than two entities in New York State, some of the other betting entities in the state, to put together a nice little group for the Tourney Bets action. Various weekdays and weekends, there will be tournaments available. And as I say, if you click on the link, you can see what tournaments are available and coming up. There are low-cost tournaments, there are free tournaments, and there also will be the ability to maybe get a seat to the NHC early next year through some of these tournaments. So again, just check it out. Go to the Tourney Bets link on capitalotb.com and take a look. Tomorrow here at the Clubhouse Racebook, $100 win-a-bet promotion. We would love to see you here. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Sunday, the $100 win-a-bet. I want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park, champions start here, and no better example of that than this afternoon with the Fountain of Youth and an incredible undercard of stakes races. Again, thanks to Ron Nicoletti, Ken McPeek, and George Weaver for jumping on board this morning. Do want to alert you some news of the day. We'll have more on this tomorrow on Racing Across America when we do our stakes review. But Winx, last night, Friday night our time, Saturday afternoon in Australia, Winx sets a record. Her 23rd Grade 1 win, just incredible. Won the Chipping Norton at Randwick for her 23rd Grade 1, a world record. The 8-year-old has won 4 Cox Plates. She has 31 consecutive wins. Just incredible. A couple of races scheduled for the remainder of the career. March 23rd, she'll be back in the George Ryder at Rose Hill on April 13th. The Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth at Randwick. So a couple more starts for the phenomenal career of Winx. But again, we'll take a look at that win from today in Australia. We'll take a look at that replay tomorrow on Racing Across America during the stakes reviews. And we'll have, of course, all the reviews of the races at Gulfstream as well. Should be a fun day. Again, there's a nice little stake, the Bernardini at Aqueduct, the major action today, of course, at Gulfstream. All of that here on the network. I'll be back in, with the 11:30 start at Gulfstream, maybe we'll jump in and hit a race or two at Gulfstream before the Aqueduct pregame show starts. So maybe an hour and a half or so we'll come on and talk a little bit about the early racing at Gulfstream. But today on OTB Live, Gulfstream, Aqueduct, Tampa, and a little bit later on some Oaklawn action. Should be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for all that. Appreciate your staying tuned this morning for an early edition of Racing Across America. Again, things kick off at Gulfstream at about 11:30 this morning, so The pregame show will come up down there shortly, and in fact, they may be into the pregame. No, I think they're doing replays right now. The pregame show will come up shortly, though, at Gulfstream Park. So stay tuned for that. Enjoy all the racing this afternoon. Again, back for OTB Live, probably an hour and a half or so. See you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.